Hi everyone, and welcome back to John Redmann, Power of Attorney. We are currently covering the race for Civil District Court Division F. Attorney Jennifer Medley is the other candidate seeking to be elected to that seat, and she will be joining us in just a moment. Attorney Jennifer Medley is a graduate of Southern University Law Center. Ms. Medley has been practicing for over 18 years. She has represented individuals and families in New Orleans in domestic abuse situations. Ms. Medley cites experience as an ad hoc judge for a period of years as well, and public service as counsel to several nonprofits. Attorney Jennifer Medley, thank you for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
All right.
I appreciate this.
It's our pleasure. So we've got a lot of ground to cover. Let's get right to our questions. So first of all, tell us a little bit more about your background and experience that you believe sets you apart from your opponent as the better person to serve as judge. And what about your past suggests you will serve this community well in the future in the role of judge?
Okay. So there's a lot to that answer. So I grew up in the upper 9th Ward area, they call it now. I'm a graduate of McDonough 35, and at the time in that area, the area was very mixed. So it allows me the ability to be able to understand what the community as a whole needs. I started out with the Attorney General's office representing various entities, state employees, actors in a variety of litigation, from workers' comp, even to the last case I dealt with was, it dealt with the roof on the Superdome after Hurricane Katrina. So the most complex to the more simple case, I've dealt with the whole range of it, even prisoner litigation. And what I find with all of that, when I look at the common thread in that, no matter what your outcome is, win or lose, state court, federal court, the person wants to feel like they've had their day in court and they've been treated fairly. And in all of those experiences, I've been able to do that with everyone. It's about how you treat people. With my current work as general counsel in healthcare for a Catholic healthcare organization, the directives that we have to follow are in line with how we treat people and how we provide care to people. No matter their ability to pay, walk of life, etc., it's how you treat people as a whole. And I think that all of those experiences would convey extremely well on the bench.
Okay. And the next question, what do you think is the most important role for a civil district court judge? What that role plays in our community? And how do you believe you are qualified to fulfill that role?
So first, with the qualifications for the role, I meet the qualifications that are set out by law. Whether a person is an incumbent or a first-time runner, the qualifications there are set out by law, and those have been met. So as far as the personality traits that I believe a great judge needs to have, it's critical that a judge has the temperament and the ability to be fair and follow the law. All of that can exist at the same time. You can be compassionate and you can follow the law. And sometimes when you follow that law, someone is not going to be happy because someone has arrived at that courthouse because something bad happened to them. And they're looking for that to be made right. The law may be on their side, the law may not be on their side. I think that it's in the way that you deal with your litigants and your everyday people that come in and how you explain that right or that wrong and how you render justice there. And that's what makes a great judge in that court.
Okay. Do you believe that all citizens have adequate access to legal help in our legal system, including in civil district court? And if not, what do you think could be done to provide wider and better access to this justice?
I think that the courts try. I think that everyone doesn't have equal access. And I think that to understand that, I think that you do have to be in tune to what the community at all levels need. So I'll give you an example of one item that creates an access problem. it's you have to have a credit card when you access the system. So it sounds simple to one. You think everyone has a credit card, but they don't. You know, everyone does not have a credit card. Poor people don't have credit cards all the time. With these balances on there if they want to be a pro se litigant, they've got to continue funding their case. And in this world of COVID right now, that's problematic because you can't really go in like you want to. So you could have someone who's high risk at home, but still trying to manage their case, which is their right without a lawyer, but they're going to run into issues with a credit card, as simple as that. So that's an issue that I think needs to be examined. And I think while it's not the judge's call, I think the judges can work with the clerk's office to try to find some solution. Again, in working in healthcare, you know, we have to stay on top of grant opportunities for the public. And I know that there are a lot of grant opportunities for access to justice. I think that the judges can work with the clerk to try to help to come to something to provide better access for all populations, all demographics, so that they can manage their cases.
Okay. So, next question. Can you point to a moment in your career, or it could be a personal crossroads, when you had to make a tough decision, a tough call that maybe was not politically popular, that you believe helps demonstrate or exemplifies who you are, where you had to make a tough call that maybe wasn't the easy call, but it was the right decision to make, even if it might have cost you politically or it might have cost you in some other way. But you believe it was the decision that you had to make, to help us understand a little bit more about you.
I could give you two. I feel like the biggest one in my career that I had to make was during my tenure with the State Attorney General's office. I discovered that my white male counterpart was earning $20,000 more than I was as a salary. We finished law school the same time. Everything was equal. In fact, my workload was more. You know, and I brought it to my superiors. They tried, I believe that they tried to address it. It was always kind of kicked to the side. You know, at that time we were told things like, women want more money for less work. One of my coworkers was told when she asked about it, same situation, well, don't you have a husband? And it got to a point that, you know, it went unaddressed, and I had to decide if I was going to take another step, which would have been litigation. It was a very difficult decision to make because I knew that that would be frowned upon, and it was frowned upon. I made the move. You know, it was frowned upon. It still is today frowned upon. When I look at things, it was still the right thing for me to do. I think that even though we have hard decisions sometimes, you have to, I mean, we just have to end up doing the right thing. And so that was a very difficult thing. And even now, sometimes when I talk about it, I find it's difficult sometimes because I know that it was frowned upon, you know, so even when you talk about it, you really don't know how people are going to look at it. You don't know how employers look at it. I know how they look at it. But you know what? When I look back at it, sometimes I would ask myself at night, if I had to do it again, would I have done that? I think somebody had to say something because it was an injustice. And a lot of the staying silent is why we are, as a community and as a country, why we're where we are today. You know, so something needed to be done, you know. So that was one. Another time I had, as I was sitting ad hoc in juvenile court, I set a child's bond very high. It was probably high enough that people would look at it as an adult bond with a lot of restrictions, and people frowned on that. But in the whole set of circumstances for this child, while they may have frowned on that, you know, it was a situation that I knew was right, because not only was the child a danger to the community in the moment, but he was also a danger to himself. You know, because if this young person went down, if they continued down that same path that they were on, they were probably going to end up dead, you know, in this criminal element that we have right now. So it was a difficult thing to do, because I know that it was unpopular to do that, but it was the right thing to do. It was within the boundaries of the law to do it, and it was the move that I made.
Next question. What is your vision for the future of civil district court? How do you plan on making an impact if given the privilege of serving as a judge in civil district court?
And you said it right, a privilege. It will be a privilege. It'd be an honor. So I would like to work with the clerk's office, because again, a lot of times, you know, you hear judges talk about, you know, the fees, but I'd like to work with the clerk's office and see if we can't start finding some, whether it be grant funds or some way to look at the fees, the access to justice issue, as far as credit card use, find some way to even let people at least access the records, to look at them at no cost. Because just to look at the records, if you go into the courthouse and you can look at it free, you should be able to look at it free at your home. And we can't do that right now. So that's something that we would have to work with the court on. Well, I'm sorry, with the clerk on. But I'd also like to see how to get more involved in the community again. You know, you see the criminal court judges doing it a lot, I think because crime is what you hear about on TV. But you don't see it as much on the civil end, so I'd like to get more involved in community.
Okay. All right, I think we have time for one more question, but this one is not too challenging, I don't think. I think it would be helpful if the viewers could know your ballot number and your website address. Could you tell us that?
So my website address is www.electjennifermedley.com. My ballot number, just like the spirit of 76, is 76, the year I was born.
All right. And I assume people can go to your website to learn more information about you, your campaign, your platform.
Me. They can contact me if they'd like a yard sign. Any involvement in this time of COVID, any involvement is welcome. Okay.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today and letting our viewers get to know you better and what your campaign platform is all about. I'm afraid now we have run out of time, and
thank you for having me.
And we're going to have to conclude there. When we come back, we'll get to meet the two candidates running for the 24th Judicial District Court Division B in Jefferson Parish. So stick around. We'll be right back.